I had nobody again to talk to, but the times now were even deeper than they ever were in my life.
In the New York Times Magazine, I'm a very forgiving person, but there's one thing I could never be a part of, and that one thing happened.
In the past, Wendy Williams had a significant impact on television, pulling millions of viewers with her biting criticism and uncompromising opinions. But the woman who coined the phrase "how you doing" is today dealing with an issue much bigger than celebrity rivalry. Her life has become a tangle of court cases, betrayals, and money-making. It's no secret that Wendy has been going through some really trying times lately. But the shocking reality of it all is starting to surface, and we can guarantee you that it's much worse than anyone could have imagined.
Quite frankly, I see a period as a burden. I can't wait until it's over. I'm not scared of menopause.
Who would build an enterprise and gain notoriety only to end up almost penniless, alone, and cut off from her family? Let's now examine the drama that has turned Wendy Williams' life into a misery. And trust us when we tell you that the scandalousness becomes deeper. Let's talk about this supposed documentary that aired on Lifetime first. Where is Wendy Williams? It would seem sense that a documentary about her life would highlight her remarkable career or her well-known talk show highlights. Untrue. It was by no means a time to rejoice in Wendy's achievements. Instead, the show embarrassingly portrayed her while catching her at her most helpless. Videos of her looking unkempt, confused, and bewildered splashed over the screen. It was devastating to watch, especially for her loyal fans who remember Wendy at the height of her success.
Advantage of the dysfunction. Why do you want to document somebody's down?
This is the worst aspect. Wendy was labeled as an executive producer, even though she didn't really have any say in the documentary. Indeed, precisely. Without consulting her, her so-called team gave their approval, and worse, they made a tidy profit in the process. Wendy, her compensation for the whole show, which drew millions of people and brought in enormous sums of money for the network, was a meager $82,000. It sounds like an expectation to us.
About keeping me away from my... This is not right. And you know this is not fair.
The legal guardian of Wendy, Sabrina Morrissey, filed a lawsuit, claiming that Wendy was not even competent to give her consent for the documentary. Her diagnosis of primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia severely impair her ability to think and speak coherently. So how in the world was she supposed to decide on a project that would expose her flaws to the world? Morrissey wasn't holding back in the court documents either. With a firm tone, she declared that the filmmakers were exploiting Wendy and making millions off of her, portraying her as a joke and the source of her own suffering. The lawsuit goes on to say that Wendy was unable of providing her permission for any kind of recording, much less for being portrayed in such a negative way.
Signing her up for projects she would never do, in her right mind.
Moreover, this is not just a meaningless claim. Statements from several of Wendy's former co-workers, as well as from her close friends and family, assert that they were not aware that this documentary was being made in the way that it was. They were unhappy with Wendy's portrayal, they weren't notified, and they weren't involved. Even worse, Wendy had never heard of the documentary before it aired. Can you imagine that happening? A film that millions of people will see that is based on your own experiences, both successes and setbacks, and that you won't even get to see and approve? Sabrina Morrissey tried to block Lifetime from releasing the documentary, but they refused, claiming the film was entitled to free speech protection.
It ended because of the negligence of her production company in regards to realizing how severe her health was.
Wendy's ordeal went beyond just humiliation on television. She's been humiliated in her personal life as well. Let's go back to her turbulent breakup with Kevin Hunter. He was Wendy's manager for a good part of their 20-year marriage to Kevin. Now, when you hear that, you could think, hey, at least he helped her become famous. But let's not give Kevin too much credit. He had been unfaithful to Wendy for years as she battled personal issues and health issues. Not only does he have an extended extramarital affair, but he also had a child with a separate woman. Although Wendy's petition for divorce in 2019 might have given the impression that their issues were over, they had only just begun. Kevin Hunter didn't simply walk away. No, he's been asking Wendy for money ever after the divorce. This is the real deal killer. Despite their divorce, Kevin has been seeking to convince Wendy to furnish him with spousal support. He has been crying uncontrollably in court, saying he has been struggling financially ever since their separation. The worst part is that he claims Wendy hasn't paid him since the start of 2020. He's not even trying to conceal the fact that he's been successfully trying to drain her dry when she's at her lowest point since early 2020. Worse, Wendy is currently completely powerless over her finances. Because of her cognitive decline, Wells Fargo stopped her accounts in 2022. The court granted guardianship. The bank expressed their fear that Wendy was being exploited and could be receiving unfair financial treatment. It's ridiculous to think that the same woman, who used to have complete control over her work, is now unable to even access her personal funds. Kevin Hunter, nevertheless, believes he ought to receive a portion of it for whatever reason. But it's crucial to keep in mind that Wendy's financial situation didn't abruptly go worse. The long and painful process has been made worse by the people who should have been caring for her. Long-term battles with various health issues such as lymphedema and Graves' disease have prevented Wendy from being on the air for extended periods of time. Even after she departed the show, the network kept airing The Wendy Williams Show with guest hosts until its final episode in 2022. But as Wendy's health deteriorated, so did her ability to manage her affairs. The real start of the downhill spiral was at this point. Lori Schiller, Wendy's financial advisor, voiced concerns about possible financial exploitation of Wendy. Wells Fargo moved swiftly to take possession of her millions of dollars and requested the appointment of a guardian to manage her assets. Wendy fired Schiller after accusing her of acting inappropriately, but the damage had already been done. Wendy's assets were confiscated, and the court appointed Sabrina Morrissey to oversee her health and financial decisions. Even though Wendy's health has declined, it is possible that those closest to her may attempt to take advantage of her. Take her former manager, Will Selby, for example. Recently, he has been linked to several questionable actions, including the arrangement of the documentary contract. Selby has been given total creative control over Wendy's media endeavors, but his role has been strictly monitored. Many of Wendy's supporters have accused him of taking advantage of her vulnerable position, especially after it was shown that he was instrumental in moving the documentary forward in spite of its divisive subjects. In relation to that documentary, let's not ignore the graphic scenes that gave the audience goosebumps. There is a rather unnerving occurrence when Wendy returns to her hometown of Asbury Park, New Jersey. A stranger informs her that she is really in the wrong area as she gestures to the house where she was reared. Then there's the second instance where she supposedly lashes out at her driver when he hesitates to buy her vape pens. Millions of people saw these scenes on television. Periods of unpredictability and worry. They've also added credence to the notion that Wendy is being used by her surroundings. So where is Wendy right now? She is largely concealed from the public eye since she is in an institution where she gets treated for her cognitive issues. Although Wendy's family acknowledges that she has improved, they are also annoyed that they don't get to spend more time with her directly. Sabrina Morrissey has the greatest control over who sees Wendy and how she is cared for because she is her guardian. In particular, her son Kevin Jr. is quite worried about this situation. Kevin Jr. has publicly voiced his worries for his mother. As he previously said, doctors had warned that Wendy's lavish lifestyle was starting to take a toll on her brain. He has also expressed misgivings over the people now managing her affairs, suggesting that their motives might not be entirely honorable. In the documentary, Kevin Jr. shares his concerns, but he was unable to stop the storm enveloping his mother. Wendy seems like she's getting ready to strike back right away. According to those who know her well, she is getting ready to sue the network and every person who worked on the show. If this were true, it would be a major turning point in her battle to regain control over her life. Given her current health, it's uncertain how involved she can be in the legal system. Wendy's admirers are calling for her to return to television and a life free from exploitation and manipulation by those around her, but it's clear that she isn't giving up lightly. Given the multitude of people involved from banks to media networks, from ex-husbands to former managers, will she ever be able to truly escape from those who have used her? Wendy's journey to rehabilitation is paved with obstacles, but this is definitely a story that is far from over. The world is waiting to see if Wendy can reclaim her throne and prevail over the chaos. What is your emotional state? Can Wendy get even with the individuals who have hurt her? And what type of response might we anticipate from the Queen of Daytime Talk if she does return? Kindly provide your thoughts in the space provided for comments. Do not forget to return for further updates on Wendy's experience. The journey will undoubtedly be thrilling.